G'day YouTube, welcome back to another video. Welcome to part 1 of the Mofo Big Block install and test series. The weather outside's not suitable for driving, so I just want to do some back-to-back testing and comparisons on the bench today. We've got the Mofo Big Block motor for the TRX4M. This motor is 5mm shorter in the length, about 10 grams lighter in weight. It comes with a pre-installed pinion specifically for the TRX4M transmission. I've got the Titan 180 87 turn installed in the truck at the moment. Both transmissions are equipped with the low speed crawl gears and a full set of bearings, so comparisons back to back should be pretty fair. The first thing I noticed about the Mofo motor, other than its slightly smaller size, is it's considerably easier to turn over by hand. Even turning it over like that through the transmission, it's significantly easier to turn. You cannot just grab the output shaft on this transmission with the stock motor and turn it over like that. It's impossible to turn with your fingers, whereas this one is a lot easier to turn. It feels like the magnets are not quite as strong as the stock motor, but this motor here promises to have a lot more wheel speed than the stock motor. Mofo also says that the low speed resolution and slow crawl should be better, so that's something that I want to explore today and see if that is the case or not. So let's take a look at the top speed. I don't have a lot of room here on the bench, but I think you'll see how quickly the stock motor on the crawl gearing will hit top speed even in this short space here. If we just set it up like that and launch it randomly across the bench, you should be able to see and hear the motor tops out really quickly, and it doesn't have a ton of wheel speed to it. There you can see it's nowhere near as fast as it came with the stock trail gearing. It's slowed it down a lot, but the low speed fidelity that you get, the slow crawl is tons better. We're going to be using the trusty incline ramp again. The purpose of this test is just to highlight the slow crawl of the stock Titan motor and show the drag brake strength, the hill holding capabilities of the stock motor with the crawl gears and the bearings installed. I'm going to be trying to use as minimum throttle input as possible to get it to move up the ramp, and then I'll stop it about halfway up the ramp and see how those drag brakes perform. Little bit of extra throttle input required to get it to start moving up the ramp. But I'm pretty much able to just lock the throttle in there and let it cruise its way up super slow. So we'll stop it there, roll back just a tiny little bit, but those drag brakes are keeping it locked in place pretty well. So as you can see, the slow crawl qualities of the stock motor with the crawl gears and the bearings installed is super nice. The drag brake with the ESC set to crawl mode is also nice and strong. It's a really perfect setup for crawling. It just lacks the wheel speed that it came with the stock configuration. We're going to swap out the Titan 180 turn and install the Mofo Big Block. When you receive the Big Block motor, it comes with the pinion pre-installed. The wiring harness that's installed to it when you receive it is actually a wiring harness for an axial SCX24. The intention is to remove the wiring harness that came stock on your TRX4M and solder it onto the Mofo Big Block. So you have to desolder the axial harness, and you have to solder on the Traxxas harness to make that a straight plug and play. So it's not just a pull it out of the packet, bolt it in, and you're ready to go affair. There is a little bit of preparation work required. With the stock Titan motor removed from the vehicle, I wanted to show you guys what I was talking about before, about the resistance required to turn over the stock Titan 180. It seems to me like the magnet strength is a lot higher on this motor. You can turn it by hand with the shaft installed, but it takes quite a lot of force to overcome that resistance there. Whereas with the Big Block installed, same transmission, same gearing, both gear sets have got a little bit of grease on them, both transmissions are running bearings, so the only difference should be the motor themselves. You can see how much easier it is to turn over the transmission that has the Big Block installed. So let's go ahead and get that back into the truck and run the same tests with it. We've got the Mofo Big Block installed. Let's run that same speed test across the bench and see if we can see the differences in the wheel speed there. You can see if you just hit full throttle and take off, it's got enough speed and power to launch that left front wheel off the ground. We'll do that again. So it's a lot zippier with the Mofo Big Block installed. The speed, it brings the speed with the crawl gears back up to approximately the same speed that it came stock with the trail gearing. So not quite as fast as the stock trail gearing, but gets you nearly back to that point in terms of wheel speed. Let's run the Mofo Big Block up the incline ramp and see if we can see a difference between the slow crawl and the hill holding capabilities compared to the stock Titan motor. On the bench, the first thing I noticed was the initial startup with the motor. You're not able to achieve quite as slower speeds. The minimum throttle produces a speed that's a bit faster than the stock Titan motor. You also need to give it a little extra throttle to get it moving up the ramp. It is still capable of a pretty slow crawl. It just doesn't feel like it's got quite as much low down torque as with the stock setup. Let's stop it halfway and see how the drag brake holds. You can see straight away there that the drag brake strength is considerably less than with the stock motor. We'll go back up the other way and see if that makes a difference. Same story going in the other direction. The drag brake strength is just not as good as with the stock Titan motor. It's a bit of a mixed bag for me. I really like the additional wheel speed, but it kind of sucks to give away that nice hill holding capability of the stock motor. That's where we're going to wrap things up for today's video. Hopefully with those tests I was able to show some of the positives and negatives of each of those setups. With the Mofo Big Block motor, you're getting considerably higher wheel speed than the stock motor, with the trade-off being that the slow crawl and low down torque is not quite as good. The drag brake strength is also noticeably weaker. I would like to follow up with a part 2 video after running this setup outside on the rocks a little bit more. If you got any value out of today's video, please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.